Welcome back, strangers. On July 4th, 2004, Marvin Heemeyer drove an armored bulldozer through the wall of his former business. A concrete plant, the town hall, the office of the local newspaper, the home of a former judge's widow, and a hardware store owned by another man Marvin named in a prior lawsuit. Owners of all the buildings that were damaged had some connection to a legal dispute with Marvin. The rampage lasted a little over 2 hours and destroyed 13 buildings. The total cost of the damage was estimated at $7 million. Supporters of Marvin argue that at no point was he trying to harm anyone during his rampage, just make a statement. However, the sheriff's department argues that the fact that no one was injured was not due to his good intention as much as blind luck. Marvin had installed 2 rifles and 2 firing ports on the inside of the bulldozer that fired 15 bullets from his rifle at power transformers and propane tanks. Had these tanks ruptured and exploded, anyone within a half-mile radius of the explosion could have been injured or killed. Marvin also fired on 2 state troopers before they returned fire on him. The sheriff's department reported that 11 of the 13 buildings Marvin had attacked were also occupied until moments before their destruction. Local and state police, including a SWAT team, walked behind and beside the bulldozer, occasionally firing, but the armored bulldozer was impervious to their shots. Attempts to disable the bulldozer's cameras with gunfire failed as the bullets were unable to penetrate the 3-inch bullet-resistant plastic that were placed over them. The Killdozer could not be stopped until Marvin's luck finally ran out at the Gamble's hardware store. The radiator of the bulldozer was damaged, the engine was leaking, and the hardware store had a small basement. The bulldozer's engine finally failed, and Marvin got one of the treads stuck in the basement and couldn't get out. SWAT members swarmed around the homemade tank and reported hearing a single gunshot from inside the sealed cab. Marvin had shot and killed himself. It took over a year for Marvin to build the Killdozer. In his notes, he wrote, "It's interesting to observe that I was never caught. This was a part-time project over a 1.5 year time period." He was surprised that several men who had visited his shed late that previous year had not noticed the modified bulldozer, especially with the 2,000-pound lift fully exposed. He wrote, "Somehow, their vision was clouded. The machine used in the incident was a modified bulldozer fitted with a makeshift armor plating covering the entire cab, engine, and parts of the tracks. At certain places, the armor was over a foot thick, consisting of 5,000 psi quickcrete concrete mix sandwiched between sheets of tool steel to make an ad hoc composite armor. This made the machine impervious to small arms fire and resistant to explosives. Indeed, 3 external explosions and more than 200 rounds of ammunition were fired at the bulldozer that had no effect on it. For visibility, the bulldozer was fitted with several video cameras, linked to 2 monitors mounted in the vehicle's dashboard. The cameras were protected on the outside by 3-inch shields of bulletproof plastic. Onboard fans and an air conditioner were used to keep Marvin cool while on his rampage. Compressed air nozzles were fitted to blow dust away from the video cameras. He had prepared for everything. He had 3 gun ports fitted with a 50 caliber rifle, a .308 semi-automatic rifle, and a .22 rifle, all fitted with a 1/2-inch thick steel plate around them. Marvin had no intention of leaving the cabin once he entered. It is thought they used a homemade crane that was found in his garage to lower the armored hull around the bulldozer and over himself. Once he tipped that lid shut, he knew he wasn't getting out of the bulldozer. This all began in 1992 when Marvin purchased 2 acres of land in Granby, Colorado. He purchased the land for $42,000 to build a muffler shop, but eventually agreed to sell the land to Cody Dockiff to build a concrete batch plant for $250,000. Until Marvin supposedly changed his mind and increased the price to $375,000, and then later demanded a deal worth approximately $1 million to sell Cody the muffler shop. In 2001, the Zoning Commission and the town's trustees approved the construction of the concrete batch plant right next door. Marvin attempted to appeal the decision, but was unsuccessful. For many years, Marvin had used the adjacent property as a way to get into his muffler shop. The plan for the concrete plant blocked that access. In addition, Marvin was fined $2,500 by the Granby Town Council for various violations, including junk cars on the property and for not being hooked up to the sewer line that had been disconnected during the construction of the concrete plant. Marvin was so angered that he bought his own bulldozer to build a new road that would allow customers access to his muffler shop, but the city council declined his plan to build his own road. Many suspected there was some shady dealings between the concrete plant and members of the city council. There was no evidence of any illegal deals. Having no recourse at all, Marvin sent the city a $2,500 check to cover the fines with the words "cowards" written on the memo line. He then sold the muffler shop to a trash company and began turning the bulldozer he bought to save his muffler shop into the Killdozer. What do you think, strangers? Would you have done the same thing in this situations, where you take actions in your own hands in a justifiable way, or do you think this guy was crazy? Let us know in the comments below. And as always, stay strange.